Hello, everyone. This is Team FCD from SYS560, and we're here to present our Milestone 1 in this video. We'll start off in order of talking about the noise and terrain generation features, which is led by Han Zhang, followed by myself, who implemented the efficient chunking and the map extension functionality. And then we'll finish off with Yixiao, who implemented the physics and the game dynamics.
Okay, so this is hands-on. I implemented the procedural terrain part. So basically, I wrote three noise functions. The first noise function, so it's basically a per lane noise function. And I took a fractal of it, and I used the first noise function to generate grassland. The second noise function, so basically, I wrote a Brownian motion noise, and I also wrote a word-worthy noise, and I combined them together to generate mountains. So the third noise function helps interpolate between grassland and mountains. So like you can see that so like there are some areas where there's only grassland and there's a mountain, and the mountain is surrounded by some grassland.
Hi, this is Sheil again, here to talk about the efficient chunking and map generation capabilities. So once we understand what the block layout is supposed to be, thanks to the program that Hanzang wrote, we can start to think about which block faces need to get rendered. So in this mountain, we see kind of all the block faces that are getting rendered right now. They are surrounded by their neighbors in that in the direction kind of adjacent to that face is a empty block, and hence nothing obstructs the player from seeing that block in a position, and hence we need to update that block. But if we actually go inside this mountain, then kind of given the nature of the shape, it's surrounded by kind of the mountain is comprised of non-empty blocks, and a lot of these blocks don't need to get generated because they're surrounded by blocks on all sides, and hence we can skip that. So from the outside it looks kind of like a normal mountain, but from the inside it's all hollowed out, and the bottom is the base there. So that's kind of really speeding up our program, especially as the maps get bigger and bigger. And speaking of the map scaling, if the player were to extend kind of the player can automatically extend the map in one generation, in one direction, if they make kind of a movement towards a direction where the chunks have not been yet created, or at least are not rendered because they're not in the frame of view. So if I were to pick kind of a direction such as to the right now, so right now we see kind of the farthest is about 3 or 4 chunks. But if I keep extending in that direction, then through the mygl tick functionality, it realizes the player is trying to hit a boundary, and hence kind of keeps generating chunks forward. So the opposite is also true. Once a player extends too far in one direction, it can no longer see the blocks that are behind it. So I'm going to keep pushing out this chunk for a little bit and then turn back, and we'll see that the mountain, and at least kind of the back parts of the mountain, are no longer going to be visible. So out here, kind of, it seems like this has naturally hit the limit of what we wanted this test scene to look like. And so it's not going to extend any further, and you can see kind of the boundary on that end as well. But from that point onwards, if we keep moving in this direction, then you can see the mountain disappears completely out of range. And this sort of clean boundary only exists because we specified that in the test.
The character is initially in flight mode, and I can press WASD to move the character, and also use mouse to move mouse to rotate the camera. And I can also use Q and E to travel through the air. And if I press F again, the character will in non-flight mode, and the gravity will apply to the character. And there is also collision detection for the character, so the character can travel through the wall. And I can also press the space to let the character jump. And if I click the left button, I can remove the block in front of the camera. And if I right-click the mouse button, I can add a block in front of the camera.